on this episode of Mythbusters.
Did you bring it?
Yeah, we brought it.
It's beautiful.
That's right, folks. We are smack at the beginning of a Mythbusters Breaking Bad special.
Yep, it's going to be unstable, volatile, and dangerous
Look at that! Oh my God!
as we break out with Breaking Bad.
Walter White with 50 grams of Mercury Fulminate.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage
Am I missing an eyebrow?
and Jamie Hyneman.
I feel like I just got spanked.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara,
Somebody order an explosion?
Carrie Byron,
Science gets more fun when I get a bigger gun.
and Tori Belleci.
Say hello to our little friend!
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
Shall we get our viewers up to speed? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Vince Gilligan, creator of the amazing show Breaking Bad, and this is Aaron Paul, who plays one of the main characters on the show, Jesse Pinkman. Now, a few months ago, Vince was asked in an interview what show he would most like to do a crossover with Breaking Bad, and his answer was Mythbusters. So, guys, what do you have for us?
Well, Breaking Bad is usually about Walt and Jesse getting themselves into a whole lot of trouble. And typically it's science that bails them out.
But, you know, we've been getting a lot of grief whether or not that science is actually scientifically accurate. And we're here hoping you can separate Breaking Bad fact from fiction.
Like what?
First off, can you indeed use mercury fulminate as an impact explosive and decimate an entire room?
Nice. And two, can you dissolve through a bath, the floor, and ceiling just by filling up the tub with hydrochloric acid?
Explosives and acid. Let's party.
Totally. Yes.
The hit show Breaking Bad sees chemistry teacher Walt and his dropout student take on the crazy world of cartels, crime, and crystal.
There is gold in the streets.
But while science is always on their side, is their chemistry correct? Well, first up, it's rub-a-dub-dub. Acid eats through a tub. Can hydrochloric acid really chew through a crime scene? And for this acid test, what's the plan?
Clearly, we should start in small scale with, I think, small samples of each of the substances the acid's supposed to have eaten through, like ceramic for the bath, steel for the gun, pig bone and pig flesh for the body, and wood for the floor, and see if the acid actually reacts with it.
And if it can, then you'll ramp up to full scale.
We're gonna ramp it up to full scale no matter what, but yes, exactly.
Well, there's one thing you guys need to remember. HF is really, really dangerous.
Yeah, that's an understatement. We're gonna really have to lock down our safety procedures.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
If we're gonna test the corrosive power of hydrochloric acid in a bathroom, we're gonna need to gather the materials that would occur in a bathroom in order to test each one. That means I'm gonna cut some stuff up.
Adam's breaking down the bathroom into its elements. Because supposedly the hydrochloric acid burned through the organic matter, the bathtub, the floor, and the ceiling.
Ceramic tile, wood, linoleum, steel. Perfect.
And for the final piece of the puzzle, the cast iron tub, Adam breaks out the heavy machinery.
The right tool for the right job.
And since hydrochloric acid is so toxic that even a tiny amount on your skin could be deadly,
Stylish.
it's off to Berkeley, where their crack team of chemists have a supply of this concentrated corrosive.
Now, in the actual program, Walt describes hydrochloric acid as being capable of dissolving metal, rock, glass, and ceramic, all materials commonly findable in an average bathroom. We've added a couple of others, plus our favorite human analog, pig, and we're going to introduce them to some hydrochloric acid and see what happens.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and load these with 100 mils of hydrochloric acid.
Eric the chemist carefully pours the acid.
Well, there's the meat.
It's not bubbling up right away, though, is it?
No.
Nor smoking.
Making sure that all the samples receive exactly 100 mils.
Well, now the most crucial aspect of any experiment.
Waiting.
Yep. It's unclear in the episode just how long the body spends submerged in hydrochloric acid in the bathtub. So in order to give our samples the best chance of dissolving, we're going to give them a good long while before we come back and see what happened.
And after an 8-hour soak in their acid bath, according to Breaking Bad, there should be nothing left, right?
Let's see what we got.
It's all still there.
It is all still there.
To the naked eye, the results are underwhelming.
All right, I'm going to start with steel.
And to the metal tongues, they're not much better.
Some residue on the bottom there, but it seems completely unaffected by the acid.
Yeah.
The steel is still intact, and so is the linoleum and the wood.
It seems like it's pretty much unaffected.
But the drywall is a different matter.
Oh, the drywall is just a soggy, soupy mush.
Yeah, it looks like the plaster is pretty much gone.
And the acid has also affected the cast iron tub.
Yeah, it's clearly eaten through the ceramic glaze. Look at that. Underneath, it feels quite solid. Now for the meat.
The main course.
Yeah, it's definitely affected the meat, but, you know, I still see a bunch of fatty tissue there.
Despite some minor changes, the acid failed to chew through every single material. So it's clear the hydrochloric doesn't have the same bite as Breaking Bad.
So at this point, it's looking pretty clear that hydrochloric acid is not living up to the Breaking Bad series of events. There's no doubt that it is a very dangerous and potentially lethal acid, but when it comes to turning a body into mulch in a few minutes, it's not the acid of choice. But that begs a real question. What is the acid of choice? Well, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're gonna find out.
Next, Carrie, Tori, and Grant are throwing down the gauntlet.
All right, Carrie, what's with the hazmat suit?
We have a classic from season 1 of Breaking Bad. Okay, so Walt needs to teach the bad guy a lesson. He needs to get away. He grabs what looks to be a crystalline structure, which is actually Mercury Fulminate.
When the bad guys don't expect anything, he throws it down on the ground. It explodes, blasting out the windows, knocking the bad guys out, and allowing him to escape.
Wait, so this Mercury Fulminate is some sort of explosive that you can detonate by throwing it on the ground?
Time for some extremely dangerous chemistry.
This is not meth.
Armed with his crazy handful of something, Walt blinds the bad guys with science. But would his fistful of crystal really decimate a room? Or is this counterfeit chemistry?
Are you nuts?
Find out.
All right, so Mercury Fulminate is not exactly easy to get.
So what is that? Are we done?
No. Luckily, we found a guy who is licensed to make this stuff. And oddly enough, his name is Jesse. Now, he has agreed to make us some. However, we have to do it in a remote location.
Why?
Because it's so nasty that if you're making it, you want to be out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and given that we know so little about this explosive, I say we go out to the remote location and do some explosives tests just to see what it does.
I like it. A little Mercury Fulminate 101.
So it's off to the quarry to get to know Walt's weapon of choice.
man, this place has seen a lot of explosions. Fire!
What are we gonna blow up today?
On Breaking Bad, Walter White takes some fulminated mercury, throws it to the ground, and creates an explosion. The question is it gonna explode the way it does in the TV show? So we've come out here to Carson Hill Rock Quarry, where we've done lots of explosions to find out a little bit more about what it does and how it's made.
And the person with that classified know-how is the aptly named explosives expert, Jesse.
Mercury fulminate is extremely dangerous, and that's why we have Jesse Taylor. He is our expert. Now, he is a consultant for the military in homemade explosives, and we're taking all of the precautions here. He's away in a special tent, remotely from all of us, and only making small batches. So, Jesse, how dangerous is mercury fulminate?
Mercury fulminate is a primary explosive, and so it is very sensitive to shock and impact, friction, heat, as well as spark.
So the good news is this mercurial stuff is very volatile. The bad news is it's a lot less photogenic.
The finished product doesn't look like it does on TV.
Right, mercury fulminate is normally a powder in the silver or gray color, and in the show it's crystallized, and to form those crystals, it's fairly complex, probably beyond the scope of an improvised setting like we're in today.
I'm gonna let you get back to work, because this looks like dangerous stuff.
Absolutely.
It may look nothing like its TV twin, but now the question is, how much bang do you get for your fulminated mercury buck?
Now, there are two important differences between what they did on the show and what we're going to do here. The first one is that Walt used 50 grams of fulminated mercury. We're only going to use 5 since this is the first time we're using it on the show. And the second thing is that in order to activate it, he actually threw it on the floor. For this, we're going to use something a bit more controlled. This is a squib, and oh yeah, one more thing. We're going to put it inside of a pumpkin.
Why a pumpkin? Well, to find out if this explosive bears fruit.
All right, here we go. This is 5 grams of mercury fulminate.
All right, let the pumpkin fly.
In 3, 2, 1, fire!
That pumpkin is gone!
It blows up real good.
So, I guess we go back to the shop. It's time to really find out if you can throw it and make an explosion.
Oh man, this is gonna be so much fun. Now what we need to do is test this myth. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to throw that mercury fulminate safely onto the ground, and we're gonna have to recreate a building just like the one in the TV show so we can see how explosive this stuff really is.
Yo, I'm Jesse Pinkman, and it's time to science this biatch up.
The Mythbusters are Breaking Bad, scrutinizing their science and checking their chemistry. So could hydrochloric acid really burn a hole through your bathroom? Well, the body of evidence says no.
There's been some activity here, but it's not soup.
Why? Well, here's Adam on acid.
All right, kids, time for a little lesson in acid chemistry. Editors, please give me a periodic table right there. Awesome. Now, let's highlight the halogens: fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and aspartame. What's interesting to us about these 5 elements is their reactivity. The lower their atomic number, the more reactive they are. That means bromine is more reactive than iodine, chlorine more reactive than bromine, and fluorine reacts with nearly every known substance. Now, on to acids. Thank you. Hydrogen creates an acid with each of the halogens, and you would be very reasonable to expect that the reactivity of the halogen would correspond directly to how caustic the acid that it makes with hydrogen would be. But you'd be wrong in the case of hydrofluoric acid, and it's because of the central bond in hydrofluoric acid, that bond between hydrogen and fluorine. See, these acids work by releasing hydrogen atoms in the reaction, and because that bond between hydrogen and fluorine is so strong, it doesn't ever want to let go, hydrofluoric acid is a less powerful acid than its brethren. Lesson out.
Hydrofluoric acid may not have the right bite, but Jamie has found something that does.
According to our experts at Berkeley Labs, that would be almost pure sulfuric acid, along with one other ingredient, which we will refer to as our special sauce because we're not actually in the business of showing people how to dispose of bodies. Let's just say it turbocharges sulfuric acid.
The hydrochloric acid didn't dissolve the organic matter, the bath, the floor, or the ceiling. But Jamie's so confident that this special sauce solution can, they're going full scale for this chemical catastrophe.
In order to work with acid, you need a location that's in the middle of nowhere, and that's where we've come. One of our favorite locations, the Waste Management Altamont Landfill in Livermore, California. Down there in that bowl where Jamie's standing, that's ground zero.
In this rectangle, there's going to be a hole. In that hole, there's going to be a tank, and that tank is where all the nastiness is going to fall if it burns through the tub and the floor. I would have gotten there eventually. That way, it'll be safely contained.
Safely contained and unable to fall through the cracks.
And it's fully in place. The bath that goes under our bath made of cross-linked high-density polyethylene.
And above that goes their elevated bathroom, built, of course, to code.
One tub of death.
So this is our mocked-up bathroom, and we've got a floor built to spec. We have a cast-iron bathtub. We even have a faux tile wall behind it. But since this special sauce mix we're going to be pouring in the tub is about the nastiest stuff known to man, if you're talking acids, we're going to have to take some special precautions to do it safely.
To that end, we've employed the help of Delta Tech Services. These guys are a hazardous materials cleanup company, and they've brought every toy in their arsenal to help us out.
They've got tanks of water and sprayers to hose us down. They've got eye wash stations. They even have fire extinguishers in case we happen to be on fire.
Well, that's the worst case scenario taken care of. And now, to break out the bad.
It's time to meet the dangerous stuff. In these 2 bottles, nearly pure solution of sulfuric acid. But we make it even stronger by adding this, a 30% solution of our special sauce. The 2 of these together, hopefully, will get ugly.
And in here is 35 pounds of dirty drug dealer's swine, and he's about to take a bath. Time to suit up.
Let's do it.
With the guys hazmated up, it's time for the pig to take a bath.
Oh, hello, little guy.
Oh, man. Let's get the acid.
But for our drug-dealing swine, the toxic trouble just got deeper.
In the clip, we only ever see Jesse pouring 2 gallons of acid onto the body in the bathtub.
Kind of spooky. We're protected, but this stuff could cause us some serious harm right now.
But to make triply sure that we're totally covered in this experiment, we're using 3 times that much.
Yep, and once the pig is sleeping in the sulfuric, enter the special sauce.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Special sauce going in. Careful about splashing. Smoking coming up.
Okay.
Okay. Shall we retreat to our video cave?
Yep.
Okay. Come with us.
500 feet away, the tent is set for their sulfuric surveillance. So now begins the weirdest wait in Mythbusters history.
This is the worst movie ever.
6 gallons of the special sauce solution slowly starts to react with the bath.
Bubbles are starting to form.
We've got white foam.
And its contents.
Yeah, it's getting much darker and gooey over here. There's all this cloudy crap coming into the liquid.
But after 40 minutes of gradual changes,
oh, there it is.
Suddenly the chemical reaction heats up.
There's a ton of smoke coming off this dude. It's happening.
Oh.
Oh. Oh. Oh!
The pig is dissolving.
Look at that! Wow! Oh, look at the thermal camera. It's like hell in a bathtub.
It's like it's on fire.
Wow.
As the exothermic reaction gets even more aggressive, the bath is cloaked in smoke.
Oh, look at that! Oh my gosh!
That's going crazy.
That is going... We better clear out of here.
Yeah.
That acrid cloud of gas makes monitoring the bathtub not just difficult, but dangerous.
I totally did not expect this to be so energetic.
But eventually, when the smoke dies down, it seems the acid has done its dirty work. Well, on the pig at least.
So it looks like a large portion of it is dissolved, but there's a little bit left, and I have to say, it looks about like what fell through the floor in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, except that the acid's not doing anything to the bathtub.
Yeah, not a thing.
It's not making its way through the tub.
That's what it looks like safe in Video Village. But now that the reaction has run its course, the guys go in for a closer look.
Ah,
That's just wrong.
it smells terrible.
Ah, that's one of the ugliest things I've ever seen.
It really is. It's one of the ugliest things he's ever seen. Think about that for a second.
It's clear the acid ate through most of the pig, but what about the bathtub and the bathroom floor?
Well, the floor is totally intact. No tubs coming through there.
Yep.
So as the plug is pulled and the experts drain the remains, it seems this myth is sunk.
That mixture that's in the tub is sort of like poorly cooked baby back ribs floating in a chocolate sauce if that chocolate sauce was produced by Satan during his morning constitutional. I think we all understand what I mean by that. But said mixture still was not powerful enough to eat through the tub and through the floor. What can we say about the Breaking Bad story? It's not looking very good at this point. What do you think? 3 times the amount of acid we saw in Breaking Bad still didn't burn through the tub.
Well, you know, there's a lot more room in that tub.
I think we should talk to Vince about it.
All right.
Still pretty cool.
Carrie, Tori, and Grant are testing this Fulminate fling.
Fire!
Could Walt throw down Mercury Fulminate, blow up a room, and get out unharmed? Well, the show's creator and star have their own initial analysis.
So Carrie, Tori, and Grant managed to find a real-life chemist named Jesse who works in a trailer and is a genius at making the best illegal chemicals. Wouldn't you say that's life imitating art?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, they got the big boom, right? But their Jesse said it's really difficult to make mercury fulminate into a crystal-like chunk.
I know, that stuff looked like dirty Play-Doh or something.
Yeah, it didn't look as cool as ours.
So maybe, does that mean that their Jesse isn't as badass as our Jesse?
Yes, that's exactly what it means.
Badass or not, it's time to get this throw on the road. So the Mythbusters have cooked up a plan.
Now that we know what the mercury fulminate can do, a couple of builds need to happen so we can test the myth. First of all, Grant needs to build a throwing robot because this stuff is way too dangerous to throw ourselves. Secondly, we need to set the scene. So Tori and I, we're gonna build a room.
All right, Carrie, you ready to build these walls?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Yep, and while Tori and Carrie get all Breaking Bad with a building time-lapse, and then get creative with some graffiti,
M7, yo.
Grant's getting all, well, Grant, designing a throwing robot.
First things first, it needs to withstand a large blast, so that's going to mean a steel frame. Power is going to be provided by an air cylinder that pulls down on a roller chain that rotates the arm, the mercury fulminate, hopefully hit the ground and then explode.
The plan is crystal clear. So now to get those cylinders firing. First up is the explosion-proof heavy metal frame.
The trick with robots is you gotta talk to them nicely. And here's my negotiator. See?
And with the axle in place, the robot gets its all-important throwing arm.
See, this is the best part. So once the arm goes on, this hunk of metal starts to look like something. It's like I'm giving it life. It's alive! Alive! So my throwing robot, which I call Throwbot for short, is done. Now it's time to test it for the first time right now. In 3, 2, 1. Yes! It's pretty good.
It's clear the Throwbot lives up to its name. And to find out how fast you can fling 50 grams of Fulminate,
There's our Mercury Fulminate substitute.
Tori's pitch it in with a 50-gram fake.
All right, what's my motivation?
All right, you gotta throw this like your life depends on it.
Okay, try to kill all the bad guys.
Do
Here
it.
we go.
Cool.
Tori clocks a throw speed of 57 miles per hour. And Grant's got a hunch what PSI might match that.
Hands out. This is 50 PSI. Calibration test in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so I was able to throw the bag at 57 miles an hour, and it looks like your throwbot is throwing at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, so that's pretty much dead on. So we've got our baseline there.
Perfect.
The throwbot is ready to throw, and their prefab house is pre-fabulous. So now it's back to the quarry for the Breaking Bad house
Gorgeous.
That's great.
the Mythbusters built.
We're building a house.
The walls and floors go up. Grant positions the throwbot.
Careful of the paneling. Don't scratch the paneling.
The roof is raised. The room is glazed.
All right, these windows are a little dirty, but we don't care.
And then the final touch is to add the Breaking Bad guys.
This is gonna be Walter. Can't just be a robot. Needs a little humanity. For this experiment, we're testing two things, both lethality and injury. Now for that, we have Osico burst discs. We're gonna put both injury at 13 PSI and death at 75 PSI at Tuco, Walter White, and his henchmen. We'll see who lives, who dies.
And with that, the Breaking Bad tableau is ready to, break.
Put your pants back on. We got work to do.
They do, because 5 grams of fulminated mercury did this to this. Now, to find out what 50 grams can do to this.
All right, welcome to the bad guy hideout. Now this is how we're gonna test this myth. We're gonna take 50 grams of mercury fulminate, stick it in Walt's hand, AKA Grant's throwing machine, throw it on the ground and see if it explodes. Now we've recreated the office just like in the TV show. It's built to code, complete with windows. Now Tuco's over here, he's sitting at his desk, he's counting his money. Now his henchmen, they have Walt surrounded. So what we're gonna do is load up the throwing machine, throw the mercury fulminate on the ground. Now, if it explodes, we have burst discs around the room to see if these guys would survive the blast. And we're gonna be able to see if the windows blow out, just like in the TV show. My feeling is, it's not gonna happen. I think it's Hollywood baloney.
Maybe, but it's time to find out, since the last part of the Breaking Bad equation, the mercury fulminate, is ready.
Hello, gentlemen. So is that the real stuff?
This is.
All right, go ahead and place it in the cup. There you are. All right. Suddenly, I'm very uneasy.
With the unpredictable payload in place, Grant very carefully charges the throwbot.
Okay, system's charged. I'm pulling the pin. Okay, we're hot.
And remember, to confirm the myth, the throw must trigger a blast, which blows out the windows and leaves Walt unharmed. So now it's the countdown to the throwdown.
This is Walter White with 50 grams of mercury fulminate. In 3, 2, 1.
All right, looks like it threw it. But, I didn't see any exploding windows.
Me either.
What if we ramp it up? I mean, what if he threw it with like superhuman speed?
Yeah, maybe he had some adrenaline coursing through his veins.
I would if I was taking over a bad guy's lair.
Facing off against a deranged gangster, if there's one thing Walt would have had, it's adrenaline.
Woo! It's a brilliant plan, is it?
So this time around, Grant gives the Waltbot a boost.
We've ramped up the throwbot to superhuman speed, so a big part of the myth actually depends on this. If we can't throw that amount of mercury fulminate at the ground at superhuman speed and see an explosion like we did in the TV show, it's not looking good.
Not looking good, but there's no half measures here. Will a superhuman throw get the detonation of the clip?
In 3, 2, 1.
Nothing happened. There was a second where I was hoping it was gonna work, but it obviously didn't. It's not that sensitive.
It seems mercury fulminate may be volatile, but Walt's powerful pitch couldn't detonate it. Which means somebody has some explaining to do.
So, I know you're my boss and everything, but it looks like you were kind of wrong with this one, huh?
Yeah. I like that throwing robot they built. Maybe we should get these guys to build us a writing robot. Get this thing right next time. But what Carrie, Tori, and Grant don't know is that up here in my mind's eye, you know, in that scene, what I think happened is that Walt mixed in with his mercury fulminate a little silver fulminate.
Oh. What's that?
It's stuff they put in these things.
Wow. I love that you just have that with you. But that wasn't in the show, so,
Well, you know, sometimes you gotta read between the lines.
What is it?
Okay, so if we read between those lines...
Fulminated mercury. A little tweak of chemistry.
What Vince is saying is that Walt's crystal of chaos would definitely detonate. So, back at base camp, the guys are priming their payload, courtesy of a blasting cap.
Now, everything else about our experiment is exactly the same. The bad guys are in the same places, the burst discs are in the same positions, and the mercury fulminate is being set off from where it would have hit on the floor. We're gonna fire this off with the blasting cap and see if we blow out any windows and how everybody in the room fares.
This time they'll certainly get a kaboom, but will 50 grams of fulminate still blow out the windows and leave Walt unharmed?
Now, the mercury fulminate is very sensitive, but it's not that energetic, so I have a hard time believing that 50 grams is going to be enough to blow out the windows, especially since the size of the room is so big. The shock waves have time to spread out and the energy will dissipate. I think we're going to bust this part of the myth.
Well, they've thrown over the throw, so it's down to the mercury fulminate to do its worst.
Okay, this is 50 grams of mercury fulminate and a blasting cap just to see what it does. In 3, 2, 1.
That was a good blast, but it definitely didn't blow out the windows.
Yeah, you know what? It's busted. We couldn't throw it down and set off the mercury fulminate, and with the same amount as in the show, it didn't blow out any windows. It didn't blow out anything.
It's no to the throw and no to blowing out the windows. But did Walt and the bad guys survive?
Okay, now that the room's been properly ventilated, there's no danger of fumes, but everything's covered in a fine mercury dust. So I'm not gonna touch anything as I investigate the room. I can see right here, first henchman, the injury disc is burst. Also, injury disc is burst right here at Walter. That means that everybody in the room is injured, probably asphyxiating from mercury fumes because the windows did not break.
It may be busted, but the throw's not over yet. The next chemistry question is, what will it take to recreate the small screen scene? So far in the Breaking Bad special, we've seen a pig disappear, but we haven't seen a bathtub go bye-bye.
That's one of the ugliest things I've ever seen.
And it's time to break some bad news.
Hey, good to see you boys. Well, while we've been out shooting, oh, you know what? We actually just shot this crazy scene where Walt finally realizes that
Hey, Ixnay.
Oh, right. Anyway, so what have you guys found out?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but the myth is busted.
No.
Yeah, it's totally busted. And we made 2 changes to make sure this could work. One, we used a special sauce acid that's a lot more powerful than the HF. And second, we used more than double the amount that Jesse uses in the clip.
What do you mean more than double?
Well, in the clip, you only see Jesse pour 2 one-gallon jugs of acid into the tub. We used almost 6, and it still didn't work.
Well, maybe you saw him pour 2 gallons, but in my mind's eye, we always used more. I'm thinking, you know, we covered that body at least, you know, I don't know, 30 gallons, something like that.
Yeah.
In the trade, we refer to this as artistic license.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't even think 30 gallons would make it all the way through a cast iron tub.
Oh, well, who said it was cast iron? Maybe it was made of some other kind of material, say like a kind of a mild cheese.
That's it. That's your artistic license. I get it. Okay. Here's how we should do this. We should go back out to the site with 30 gallons of our special sauce acid and a bathtub made of something, maybe not a cheese, but of something that can be acted upon by our acid.
Based on what we find out back at the lab.
Exactly.
Oh, sounds like a plan.
We'll keep you posted. So we got caught making some assumptions. We assumed it was a cast iron tub. Everyone knows what happens when you make an assumption. You make an ass out of you and umption. Anyway, we've done some research and we have settled upon 3 of the most common bath materials. Cast iron with ceramic coating, steel with enamel coating, and perhaps the most common of all bathtub materials, simple fiberglass. Now it's time to subject each of these materials to our sulfuric acid with its special sauce and see which one becomes our bathtub of choice.
Yep, and back at the lab for their acid quest, it's time to turn the tables on the tub samples.
So what do we have first?
Cast iron bathtub.
All right.
Well, there goes the cast iron into the sulfuric acid. Now we go for the special sauce. Wow, that is really vigorous.
6 gallons of acid couldn't burn through the cast iron tub at Altamont.
It's not making its way through the tub.
But more acid per inch of surface area could get a more caustic result.
Now this is exactly what I was expecting to see with acid and our materials.
However, after a 40-minute soak, that stubborn cast iron ain't giving up its ions. So next up is
enamel-coated steel. Wow, that's bubbling up right away too.
Bubbling away, but there's a pattern repeating.
Well, the enamel-coated steel went into the sulfuric acid, and again, not much was going on until the special sauce was poured in and it started to bubble. But we're told that that's just a reaction between the special sauce and the sulfuric acid because now, a couple minutes later, it's not bubbling.
Which means it's time for the final contender, the fiberglass.
Oh man, that's so cool. Fiberglass has been the most reactive substance thus far tested of anything. We put it in here, and once the special sauce went in, the bubbling was incredibly powerful, and now it's like 4 minutes later, and it looks like there's a brown stain floating on top of the sulfuric acid and special sauce. I'm very encouraged about this.
You can see the fiberglass is giving us exactly the kind of reaction we were looking for. But that's only a square inch of the fiberglass and about 100 mils of the acid. The question now is whether a tub like that and a whole bath load full of acid will give us the kind of reaction we saw in Breaking Bad. Are we done?
I think that's it.
You know what that means.
Time to go full scale.
Yep.
So far, we have not seen anything even remotely close to the TV show. No throwing down the Mercury Fulminate, no explosion, no glass going everywhere. But now it's my favorite part of the show where we replicate the results. Now, we could cheat and set up pyro gas bombs like they did in the show, but we're gonna stay true to the myth. We're gonna use nothing but Mercury Fulminate. So what we're gonna do with the time we have left, make as much as we can, set it off, see if we can actually blow out the windows of the building, and then find out what would happen to the people inside the room.
So it's out with the Throwbot and into the RV, where Jesse has been carefully formulating a huge batch of Fulminate.
So this is the moment of truth for our myth and Mercury Fulminate. We're making the biggest batch that we can safely in the amount of time that we have. Our chemist Jesse has been at this for a little over 8 hours, and the size of the batch is 250 grams. That's 5 times what Walt used in the show. Now, since at this point it's considered a shock-sensitive, high explosive, it's way too dangerous to simply walk this over and place it. So they're putting it inside of an explosion-proof box and carefully driving it over to the site. We're gonna set this off and see if this is enough to blow out the windows in our building.
Yep, inside that box is more than a fistful of crystal. And once our mild-mannered chemist has painstakingly positioned Walt's weapon of choice, it's wired for detonation. But can 5 times the amount of mercury fulminate finally get the Breaking Bad room boom?
All right, let's blow up this hideout. 250 grams of mercury fulminate.
This is Breaking Bad Boom in 3, 2, 1, go!
Whoa! I think we got the windows. Oh my gosh, we completely destroyed the hideout.
Yeah, science. 250 grams of mercury fulminate certainly broke that room bad.
Wow!
Oh my gosh, the entire structure is gone. That was awesome!
Shall we go see if anybody survived?
Why not?
And at the scene of the blast, Carrie's instincts were right.
So all the windows are busted out and everyone's dead. We may have been a little ambitious in replicating the results, but it's still busted.
Now, sometimes when you scale up a reaction, it's a non-linear process, and that's what we've seen here today. Now, to be fair, a reinforced concrete building like the one in the show might have fared better than our wooden house. But you know what? That doesn't change the fact that this is still busted.
It's busted for the Mythbusters. But for those of you reading between the lines...
All right, so they're calling it busted, but what about you?
I say confirmed.
Confirmed. Explain. How so?
Well, Walt used that bag of mercury fulminate to threaten everybody in the room, and
Right.
he was right. That bag would have caused total devastation. In fact, if we use that much, it'd be the Jesse Pinkman show now, right?
Yes, it would have been.
Yeah.
Damn it. Damn it. Okay, so, but what about it not going off when it was thrown? Or how you need a lot of it to make a big boom?
Those are just details, my friend. Details.
Details. Man, you sound more like Walt every day.
I'm glad you're noticing.
Yo, it's Breaking Bad in the house.
According to Breaking Bad, acid plus bathtub plus organic matter is a recipe for disaster. But so far, not so good.
God, that's nasty. The floor is totally intact. No tubs coming through there.
However, for the final science of the hams,
Our last tub required this to move it. For moving this one, I've decided to reveal to the world my super strength.
they're switching tubs and upping the acid ante.
This is where we try to show what it would actually take to replicate what we saw in Breaking Bad. And that involves pouring 24 gallons of almost pure sulfuric acid over a pig in this fiberglass tub.
To that, I will add 12 gallons of our special sauce, which will come out of this container right here, which I'll deliver with the Gradle up and over our barrier.
And I'll open the valve, and we'll see what happens when our special sauce gets to work on that pig.
It's a souped-up protocol, because with 6 times the acid, there's 6 times the risk.
It's not only fully protective, but I look good in it. Damned good.
So while Adam loads the special sauce,
I've done my part.
Jamie gives the pig its sulfuric soaking.
Okay, Adam, that's the last 2. I'm ready for the special sauce.
Copy that.
Then Adam carefully lowers his corrosive catalyst.
All right, here we go.
And Jamie unleashes a torrent of trouble.
It's really bubbling.
The question now is, will this combo get them the Breaking Bad chemistry destiny?
Oh, wow, I can see the smoke from here.
Well, it's off to a very volatile start.
Uh-oh. It's starting to go off. We better get out of here.
In fact, the guys don't even make it up the hill before the entire corral goes up in smoke.
Oh!
Whoa!
Going over the side.
Dude! I don't know if looking at remote cameras is going to help at this point.
No.
Adam's right. The reaction is so fast and so furious that even the cameras are in the dark.
Well, I tell you one thing, I'm glad we decided to pour in the special sauce remotely.
You and I both.
Oh my goodness.
That is crazy. That happened so much faster than I thought it would.
I'm glad the wind's blowing that way.
Yep, and once the smoke clears, they have a very grisly angle on what remains to be seen.
Wow, there's no pig.
There's a couple of chunks, it looks like, floating around. I'm surprised. I thought that the bathtub may have filled, but it just looks like everything boiled over, and now it's about half full.
Yeah.
Half full of black, satanic sludge.
In 5 minutes flat, the acid almost completely dissolved the pig. But did they finally get the bathroom blowout?
Oh, man. How does the floor look?
The plywood's been affected, but it's not been eaten through. It's just sort of like it's been charred.
And the bathtub?
The bathtub looks like it's been burned some, but it's completely intact, and it's holding 20, 25 gallons of stuff in there.
That's amazing.
I've never seen anything like that. The pig is just like it was never there. It's turned into some kind of black goop.
What pig? I don't know anything about no pig.
There's no pig because the chemical reaction literally broke it down into its elements.
Inside the tub was sulfuric acid and our special sauce, which let's just say is lots of hydrogen and oxygen. And then, of course, there's the pig, which is made up of mostly hydrocarbons. And the chemical reaction produced when the acid was exposed to the pig was so energetic that it released massive amounts of hydrogen and oxygen, making that huge cloud of water vapor along with carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas. And then all that was left when the reaction had run its course was carbon and sulfur, leaving that black pool of sludge in the bottom of the tub.
That was spectacular. The reaction happened much faster than we expected, but our protocol accommodated for that. And at the peak, this entire 30-foot diameter corral was just shooting a plume of smoke to the sky. Any experiment that has a plume of smoke shooting to the sky is, by definition, awesome.
By definition, awesome. But this bathtub breach is all washed up.
Well, that was really cool.
Very cool. Busted, but totally cool.
Let's go tell Vince and Aaron.
Cool.
All right, guys, the results are in, and I'm sorry to say, even though our special acid with the fiberglass tub was an improvement, it still failed to replicate what we see in the clip. Oh, man. And because it didn't work with HF, this myth is totally and doubly busted.
Yep, it's busted.
Wait, so Jesse won, Walt nil.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should have used the cheese.